When I was in school, I had teachers who were sticklers for exact outline formatting. You know the ones. They're the ones who spend their time reminding you how to do this in Word. I was so frustrated by the numbered sections and then the letters. And if we're really getting into it, Roman numerals. Oh no. As someone with ADHD, that was just not the way my brain worked. I wanted to be that person, but I just couldn't be. I liked brainstorming because I guess that way of thinking is pretty much my constant default. So I totally get it when writers say they are allergic to outlines. This is why that I'm doing this episode about outlining for people who hate to outline. I know that outlining the conventional way is actually so annoying that it can get you stuck or blocked. But I also know that not having an outline is, in fact, what gets a lot of you stuck. Having an outline makes it so much easier to keep on track with your story. Hence, this guide to outlining your book by and for people who hate outlines. Here we go. If you're a writer dreaming of becoming a successful author, join me, writing coach Karenna Akavane, on the How to Be an Author podcast, your weekly source for writing information, inspiration, and motivation. This week's episode is going to be mercifully short because I know that many of you don't want to even hear about outlining that much. And yeah, it's not that exciting to outline. So I'm just going to really tell you why you should do it. And then I'm going to tell you how to do it. And then I'm going to leave you with a homework assignment so that you know exactly what you need to do so that you're ready for next time when we're going to jump into something a little bit more detailed. Now, I really encourage starting this process actually with a little free writing. So once you have your book idea, and if you don't have a good book idea, go back to the previous episode about how to figure out if your book idea is good and how to take it from simple book idea to an actual little plot idea. But once you have your idea, I really encourage you to start this process with a little bit of free writing. There's that whole huge battle royale between plotters and pansters, with each one saying that their way is the only way, but I think that you can do it both ways. I think that you can do some free writing, but then also this planning that an outline can bring is really crucial. So start with some free writing, see where your story goes, see what the possibilities are. Do some little octopi, with the brainstorming. I love those little octopi just because octopi are so damn cute. And I say put them down on paper because at least for me, that's kind of easier to do. I sometimes even will whip out my colored pens, that's super fun. I like that method to actually expand on your story because look at an octopus, how it looks. It's got this central big head, right? Which is the big idea. I think for me, once you've started doing this brainstorming using little octopi, start thinking of plot points that need to happen between the beginning and the end of your story. So start to populate a page or piece of paper with little octopi. So you start with a circle. And you're like, okay, so this needs to happen. My character needs to leave their town. Okay, what are ways and reasons that they would leave their town? Draw some little octopus legs and write those things at the end of them. And then now that they've left their town, they end up in this new village. Okay, what could potentially happen in this new village? What are they going to learn in this new village? What are some of the obstacles that are going to happen in this new village? See, so you're drawing out more little branches for the next little octopus. And then kind of link up. One of those little legs is going to take you to another question. Oh, because of what happened in the village, they're probably going to end up stealing from the baker in the village. Oh no, what's going to happen because of that? New little octopus. So all these little octopi are going to help you to start to build a narrative that's at least a little bit logical. And then you can transfer that to the clothesline method I was talking about and just string everything along. And then I would say instead of having this, super hierarchical diagram that works much better for like an essay, for example, a book is not an essay. I would say now is your chance to just do an outline that's more numbered. Right? Now, if you were writing a book that's a business book, then definitely you're going to have a hierarchy because you're going to have, here's my point, and here are the things that support my point, 1, 2, 3, or ABC. But with a novel, no, you just need to have these elements that happen scene by scene by scene. Because of this scene, this happens. Because of this scene, that happens. But this happens as an obstacle. So throw all of those in, and that's going to start to build the kind of causality that we're going to be exposing in future episodes that's really, really crucial. So you definitely don't want to go straight to numbers and letters and hierarchy. You want to have some fun because after all, writing is creative. Writing should be freedom, at least at this stage in the game. So, okay, what do we put on this outline? I know a lot of you are frozen by this. What do we put on the outline? I know I put numbers and letters. I know I put 1A, 2B, whatever, but what do I actually include in my outline? For many of you, I ask for an outline when I'm working with new authors, and they'll send me something that's totally not an outline. So an outline is basically just a list of things that need to happen for the story you thought up to move from beginning to end. Basically, that's all it is. It's a list of the things that need to happen. And each thing that needs to happen is basically taking place in a scene. A scene is basically a mini story where things happen that are important to the book. And as a mini story, each scene needs a beginning, middle, and end. And each scene needs to be set. I always refer to the scene setting as exposing the 5 W's. The 5 W's are who, what, why, where, when. And those 5 W's, once you know them, that means that you know when and where your scene is happening, as well as who is in it, what exactly is happening, and why that's happening, and why that's important. You also can have an honorary bonus element, an honorary W, it's really an H, which is how. How did my characters arrive at this point or at this location or situation? So basically, that's what you're going to put in your scene. You're just going to have that be super simple and just jot down, okay, now this happens and this person's in the scene and that person says this and does that. But it can be really, really minimal. Now, let's look at your outline. Let's keep building this outline of ours. You're going to be wondering, how many scenes do I need in my basic book? I'm saying you probably need at least 25 or 30. How long are my scenes? Well, probably your scenes are going to be about 2,000 words long. Some are shorter, some are longer. So look at that. How long does my book need to be? Approximately how many scenes do I need? You want your scenes to be pretty balanced. And most writers have a tendency to do longer chapters or scenes or shorter chapters or scenes. I just said chapters and scenes. I like to do one scene, one chapter. I think that's the best way to do it. It's the least complicated way of doing it, so that when you're numbering your outline and you're looking at it later, it's kind of going along with what your chapter numbers are. That's really going to help you with formatting later and also with jumping around in your document. Here's a super big hack, really important when you're doing your outline. Make sure that you put everything in your outline on the outline level so that when you're scrolling through that, you can see what's what when you actually do the formatting. And when you write your story, I would put your chapter headings so that they're the same as your first little outline heading. And then you put that on outline level header 1. Okay, so here's how you do this, really. Let's look at your outline, and you've got, let's say chapter 4 or scene 4 is that Judy, Frank, and Nathan are in the store when Judy's dog runs away. That's what you can write on your outline. Just write, Judy's dog runs away, and then you're going to do the 5 W's. So you say, Judy, Frank, and Nathan are in the pet shop, and Judy's dog sees a cat, that's the why that happens, and runs away. And Judy literally needs to have her dog because he is her emotional support dog. And so Frank can't handle it, is overwhelmed, and runs away as well. And Nathan and Judy have to go look for the dog. And the result of this is that Judy starts to have feelings for Nathan. Okay, cool. When you're writing this chapter in your book, you can just write the heading, Judy's dog runs away, and then highlight that and format it as header 1. And then the rest of it is paragraph. That means that when you're looking at your whole document, you can find in the side part, you can find Judy's dog runs away as chapter 4, and that'll help you to jump to it if you decide that you need to tweak chapter 4 or move it around or do whatever with it. That's really important. So do all these scenes, scene by scene by scene. Finish that outline, every single scene, and then we're going to look at it very objectively before we start writing too much. This is going to be a huge time saver. Looking at your outline without all of the distracting stuff is definitely going to help you to look at whether your story works, whether it's being told in a balanced and logical way, and whether some of the characters might have too much time or too little screen time, as I call it, whether there's some characters that are superfluous or whether they need to be developed more. I think that's really, really crucial. So look at your outline and see, okay, so I have these characters, they start off here and then they get there as well. Look at that. Look if there's logic. Are there jumps in logic? They get to this other planet and they're there instantly, but wait, how did they get there? You'll look at your outline and you'll be able to tell that, wow, I didn't explain to my reader how these characters got there. Or maybe you'll see, wow, I've got like 20 different locations. That might be a lot for my story. And you'll be able to tell that from your outline. Or maybe you look at your outline and you think, there are a bunch of things happening, but this doesn't really make any sense and this doesn't feel like a cohesive story. You're going to understand that you need to introduce more causality. And causality is one of those things we'll be talking about at length in a future episode because it's really, really important. But I think that that's kind of crucial and it's something that you'll get out of your outline. So now you've looked at everything. You've decided that your outline represents a pretty harmonious, logical, balanced story that looks like it's got decent pacing and not too many plot holes. That's great. What do we do with it now? You can either type it out. I'm still imagining that you're writing this outline on paper because I just love doing that. You can print it out. You can frame it where you can see it. You can pin it up to the wall. You can stick it to your computer. You can do whatever you want with it as long as you can see it because you are going to use this outline to write scene by scene. And that's one of the big values of an outline is that it enables you to do this. Writing scene by scene is great for ADHD writers because oftentimes we're not in the mood to write a specific scene, but then there are a few scenes later that we're really in the mood to write and we're like, wow, I wish I could do that without forgetting that I still need to write this other scene. Well, with an outline, you can do that. With an outline, you can fill in the one part that you liked and leave the other parts blank. And you've got those headings and then you can jump back to the other parts. So write scene by scene, depending on what you're excited to write, because you already know where your characters are and when it happens, who's there, all of that. So on any given day, knowing that that scene is there, knowing that the outline has given you those cheat sheet notes, that'll keep you on task. Now, of course, there are also moments when your crazy characters, they run off on a tangent, or you think of something that's really, really cool and that you know would add to your story, but it's not on the outline. And yeah, that outline falls by the wayside a little bit. And that's totally fine because, spoiler alert, it's actually a best practice to create a new outline once you finish your rough draft. And I know that you're like, wait, you were already trying to convince me to write one outline and I was almost convinced, but now you're trying to make me write a second outline? That's absolutely crazy. No, it's not. It's actually really, really useful. It's going to save you so much time because basically I think that writing a new outline is almost a requirement for writing the kind of complete synopsis that most agents are looking for. So you're actually going to save time and you're going to be able to do almost this DIY self-edit thanks to this outline. And you'll be learning later in the season of this podcast how that works. But I think it's super duper important. So you're going to want to know that you need to do that. So that's basically your homework in this very short little episode. Your homework is create an outline I promise you'll be glad you did, and feel absolutely 100% free to invent your own system. You don't need to do 1A, B, Roman numerals, 2C, whatever. Invent your own system. Invent colors or just number it. I just number mine really simply, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by chapter number. And I think that's probably the easiest way to go. But I would say play around, invent your system, create your outline. You'll be glad you did. And next time we're going to be talking about Save the Cat. If you have any pressing writing-related questions or would like to be featured on the How to Be an Author podcast, please feel free to reach out on my website, creativeandwritingcoach.com.